New year, new topics to explore, and new men of substance. As we enter into this period of newness, we are calling all of our men far and near to join us in season 2 of Man Enough as we look forward to growing together. Season 2 of Man Enough. Don't miss it. And remember, you are Man Enough.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are so very grateful as we are back today on another episode of Man Enough. And we have a very important topic to discuss today. We're in season 2. We are grateful to be back as we continue to strive to edify, to elevate our men in society. This is a 3-part series to Man Enough to be sexually pure, and today we are on part 2 of this 3-part series as we are talking on the topic of porn and masturbation. It's a big topic to discuss, but we have capable men to discuss this topic with. These men are no strangers to the Man Enough program. They would have been on season 1 of Man Enough. We have with us Mr. Elder, soon to be Doctor, by God's grace, Drayson Brown with us. From St. Kitts. I'll allow him to introduce himself shortly. And we have as well Pastor Ricardo Salman, the bishop himself, a very capable man to talk on this topic today of pornography and masturbation. We're so grateful to have you both with us today. And I'm just going to allow you guys the opportunity to introduce yourselves. We'll start with Pastor Salman. We're going to have you introduce yourself now.
Thank you so much for having me, Pastor. My name is Ricardo Salman. I am presently the Family Life Director and Men's Ministries Coordinator for the East Caribbean Conference of Seventh-day Adventist. I am also a trained psychotherapist, and I enjoy the more so of the counseling environment, more so than any other part of my ministry. And I have been in ministry for a long time, little over 25 years, I imagine. I have a wife and 2 adult children. And as you can see, I have been around for a while. There are signs that says that rather clearly. It's good to be with you all. Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to have you today with us, Pastor Salman. And don't cut yourself short, man. You're looking younger than both Elder Drayson and I, in Jesus' name. Elder Drayson, could you introduce yourself, please?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Drayson Brown. As was mentioned by our host, Pastor Cadique. And it's always a privilege and an honor to be on this platform. I do not have all of the accolades you would have heard from Pastor Salman, but I'm always happy that God would have blessed me enough with the ability to read, to research, so that I can share my passion. I can share whatever I would have researched with you so that all of us can be better. So I believe that this evening's topic is going to be very interesting. So I hope that you're ready to listen and also to learn, as knowledge is only beneficial when it reaches a stage of wisdom.
You see, he already starts saying these profound things. I mean, we're gonna be having a wonderful discussion today based on just that alone. You understand? Gosh, man, when I grow up, Elder Drayson, I want to be like you when I grow up, in Jesus' name, by God's grace, you know. So we're gonna have fun in today's discussion. It's a serious topic, but I mean, we're gonna still have fun talking on it. We're talking on Man Enough to be sexually pure. It's part 2, and the focus is pornography and masturbation. But as usual, before we delve into the topic at hand, we need to set our context so individual can follow the premise that we have set. All right. So then I want us to define these both terms. I want us to define pornography. What is it? And I want us to define as well masturbation, respectively. Pornography and masturbation. I don't know who wants to go first. I'll allow you guys to choose, man. You know, tell me. Who wants to go first? I see, Jason, that you're smiling. Go ahead, man.
Okay, well, I'm not sure about Pastor Salman, but usually when we are given the opportunity to define a term, you can't just give a definition. And so I want to ensure that persons understand the depth of the two terms, pornography and masturbation. And I want to take something quickly from scripture, Genesis 1:27 to 28. And hear what the Bible says. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. The Bible says, male and female, he created them. 28 says, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. And I'm sure persons are wondering, where is this man going? And he is basically supposed to give a definition. But this is where I am going. The introduction of that beautiful gift that God gave to mankind, that we so call sex, was given right there. The commencement of the gift, it says that God blessed them. So it tells us that that blessing, which is marriage, shows us when that gift is to be utilized, that gift which is called sex. And also it tells us who should use it. The Bible says male and female. You understand? There is no accommodation for anything else but male and female within marriage. So there is a bonding aspect. There is a coming together aspect. So anything sexually, according to scripture, should only be done in this, with this parameter that God would have established. That is a bonding, coming together, two becoming one. That is where the manifestation of the gift is released. Also, Cadique, one of the things God did not say, I am going to give Adam and Eve the sexual desires, and then he said, go and. They were created with the desires, and they were created with the sexual appetite. So what God did now, he said, be fruitful and multiply. So it tells me, even though the bonding includes just male and female in marriage, everyone was given the sexual appetite and desire. With that establishment, of course, we are up against an enemy. And so God would have given us a narrative. And then the enemy came and decided to create his own narrative. And this is what he has offered to us. He said, listen, I want to give you all an illusion or a counterfeit to what God would have given you, that gift. And he says, listen, my gift is easy. Basically, you don't need anybody. You don't need any bonding agent. You don't need any getting together. All you need to do is utilize the same sexual desires, the same sexual appetite that God has given to you. And you can make yourself feel almost the same way that others will feel if they go into that union, which you don't have to go into. And so he introduced other things like pornography and masturbation. That is what he did. He is using the desires God gave to us, and he has introduced a different pathway, a more selfish-based pathway, a pathway that says, you do it alone on your own. That is how it's supposed to be. And so when you look at pornography, pornography is basically that representation of the sexual behavior that we see in books and pictures and statues and films and other media that is intended to cause sexual excitement. That is what the devil is doing. And so masturbation now is when you reach the point of basically massaging or touching your own sexual organs for pleasure. And so there are synonyms to masturbation, terms such as self-pleasuring, solitary sex, or self-love. Those are the things. So what you can see, these two aspects, or these two products that the devil has introduced, is to bring us to a level where we can actually satisfy ourselves, which was not God's design.
Go ahead, right ahead, Pastor Salman.
Yeah. Hey, look, I can't beat a definition like that. I think that was beautifully put. Really, I mean that was right on. I'm kind of glad he went first, because there's no way I could have said it like that. I think that and I'm supposed to be the pastor. You see, that's but no, I am in full agreement. There, if you look at both of them, pornography, masturbation, both of them are designed to create sexual stimulation in self. Masturbation is exploring yourself. I want to see how I feel when I do this. Or it can be done in the absence of if my wife or if my husband is not present. I'm not getting into the right and the wrong. I'm just telling you what it is. That's what masturbation is, right? First, it is a way of gaining self-pleasure. That's what masturbation is, and it is done for the sake of, relieving stress, pleasure, things like that. That is why people masturbate. And you have pornography on the other hand is looking at others do or are involved in the act of sex for the sake of gaining pleasure yourself. So there is that kind of a selfishness that is involved in both of them that that we need to look at, and that is things that we can explore. There's a selfishness involved in both of them, and the results often, because they're selfish in nature, I think is what is generally the problem.
Yeah. I see you guys already alluding to the next question. In terms of Brother Jason would have alluded to, it steps out of what God would have intended for man. It steps out of, as Pastor Salman is saying, of selflessness that God desires for man. So then I want us to zero in a little bit more on what is really wrong with pornography. And just pornography. We ain't touching masturbation as yet. We're talking about pornography right now. I know that this program, we cannot truly engulf in totality pornography, masturbation in this one discussion. I had a struggle of combining the two in one discussion, because pornography alone takes several discussions. But I want us to talk about what is wrong with pornography. I mean, we look at, and we understand that pornography is not just the videos. It can be read as well, as more women would read than the men. I was told that they would get the novels that have the porn in it, and they would read it and whatnot, and that was classified as pornography as well. That is my understanding. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But when we look at the whole dynamic of pornography, especially because it seems to be where individuals are learning new moves and learning their sexuality and all these kind of different things, it seems as if this thing is an educational platform more than anything. What is wrong with this thing called pornography? Pastor Salman, tell us.
I have to ask the question, where do I begin with that question? Because what's wrong with pornography? And let me look at it this way. Pornography is generally associated with violence. And we need to understand that. Oftentimes we watch pornography. Well, those who watch pornography may say that they're doing it for fun. They're doing it so that they can learn new ways of engaging in the act of sex. Some use it for the sake of arousal. But the reality is that pornography is a violent act, and it may not necessarily begin that way, but it leads to violence. And not only that, it allows the person to become self-absorbed. I think, and I do believe that if we go with the definition that my brother just gave there, we would have to conclude that pornography makes a mockery of the beautiful gift of sex that God has given to us. Because pornography of itself has a way of taking away a person's dignity. a person's sense of value and self and respect. Yeah, when you are watching, and by the way, there are many persons who are involved in pornography, especially from women, are generally high on some kind of drug in order for them to perform that act for others to see. And so it is not a case where majority of times these are done willingly. This is done oftentimes by persons who are under some kind of spell, under some kind of drug, so that they can perform these acts for others to see. What it does is that it takes away your freedom, and sex is supposed to be free between a man and a woman. Notice I didn't say a husband and a wife. I said between a man and a woman. It's supposed to be free. You understand? And it takes away that freedom. It takes away that freedom, and it is so deep and it's so involved that now we have children from a very young age who are becoming involved and being exposed to this, and this is deliberate. And so we have, and oftentimes what it does also, I imagine you will come to this, but what it does is that it causes breakups in marriages. All right, so I can go on that, but because there's everything wrong with it. There are those who become addicted to it, so much so addicted to it that they can no longer control themselves. So what's wrong with pornography, based on everything that I have just laid out with you, and more that we can talk about as we go on if necessary?
Anel Drayson, tell us. I see you laughing and bubbling up. Share with us, man.
No, no, it's when Pastor Salman say everything wrong with it. That was just funny, the way, the accent. Now, I agree with Pastor Salman. Now, one of the things people need to understand is this: everything that God instituted, the enemy tries to divert. Why is the enemy doing this? The enemy is not presenting pornography for us to have an ultimate sexual desire only. The enemy's plan is to take our minds away from the Creator and to focus our minds on the created. That is what pornography is doing. And so in order for him to successfully do that, he uses the same gifts that God gives to humanity, which of course I explained earlier, our sexual desires that are in it. He used that, and so he brings that out from us in his own way so that he can be praised. That's one of the dangers. Now, I also want to let us know that don't be fooled. God instituted sex. The enemy covered it up and brings something else, but it is not called sex. We have to terminalize these things properly. That thing that we do outside of marriage is called fornication. It is called adultery when you break that marriage and go elsewhere. But the enemy is telling us it is sex still. It's not. Also, we see so many other ways in which he tries to divert our attention from the Creator. But Cadique, permit me to say, I like to look at this question by focusing on a computer. Now, we all know the most important component of this machine is a hard drive. Now, the hard drive stores data. That is what the hard drive does. Now, without it, your computer will not be able to basically save any files, boot up your operating system, or play games that young people so love. Now, our human brain is our hard drive. The brain stores every piece of data. Everything that goes to the brain, it is stored. Whatever the brain stores, it reflects who we are. Whatever enters our brain influences our behavior. Okay? That is something people need to understand. Whatever goes in influences our behavior. So if I allow pornography to be stored on my hard drive, that is going to eventually influence my behavior, whether in marriage or whether in leading to other form of sexual illicit acts that, Pastor would have outlined. So that is one thing that is wrong with pornography. It basically controls your brain eventually, which of course destroy the way you behave in public or inform the way you behave in public. And also it actually disconnect you, as I said earlier, from God himself as a creator. But there is something else very dangerous with pornography that I want to share. Every sexual activity produces large amounts of dopamine. Now, dopamine is a chemical located in the brain. Now, where is the pornography going? In the same brain. It's a chemical that located in that brain that is closely tied with emotions, excitement, happiness, and action. When I watch pornography, I release a particular amount of dopamine that is not connected with having sex with somebody, but it's connected with me watching pornography. So that means whenever I watch pornography, that dopamine is released. Then that means in order for that level of excitement to be released, I have to connect to the source, which I have created, which is pornography. That is one reason why so many persons get addicted to pornography, because pornography is connected to that excitement chemical. Number two, another thing that happens is that you have another chemical that is released called oxytocin. Now, oxytocin, this is what you call the bonding hormone. So when basically husband and wife are involved sexually, that chemical is released and it brings them closer. Women who feeds baby experience that, because when the baby is on the breast, that chemical is also released, and that is why children are so bonded to their mothers. Now, what happened is that when I watch pornography, that excitement and that bonding chemical is also released. But the dangers is that I am now bonded to images, videos, and those pornographic scenes. Hence, we have multiple persons now who would have said to me that they find it difficult that they're having sexual intercourse with their wives or husbands, but they're thinking about something else. Why? Because that bonding was created, that dopamine was created. So while you're in bed with somebody, your mind is in a different world with somebody else. So that is where pornography and the dangers of pornography can destroy us as human beings.
Pastor, let me also add here to that what the research is showing though is that that the brain, that if someone is addicted to pornography, which is generally the case, as long as you begin watching pornography, you become addicted to it, and you know, I'm sure we've met persons like that. So when someone has become addicted to pornography, they tend to have problems in other areas of their lives, not just the bed, that is part of it, the bed, but they have problems in their places of work. In their place of work, they have problems in their daily living. The more hours per week someone uses pornography, the research shows that the less gray matter volume they have in their brain. And in addition, the connective tissues are associated with healthy brain function begin to deteriorate with increasing hours of use. So it is not a matter of just watching pornography. This thing affects your entire being, your entire lifestyle. It affects you at home, and even in your bedroom. It affects you in your place of work. It affects you with your friends, because you carry those thoughts. And like what my brother was just saying there, which is so true, it creates this kind of pathway in your brain that makes it difficult for you to overcome the pornography, because it has now overtaken your entire being. Because don't forget, we are sexual beings by nature. We love sex, we enjoy sex, and it takes over that pleasure part of our brain. It takes over and it kind of rules us in the way we live on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you guys so much. I mean, you guys have said so much, and I mean, this discussion so far, we can take time to delve in deeper into what we're talking about. And I'm so sad that time is against us, that we can't even delve into this a little bit more. But we have to keep it moving. And what I want to know is do you think that pornography is directly targeting our men. I mean, we're talking about man enough today to be sexually pure. And the reason I'm in comparison to our women, that is, and the reason I'm asking this question is because we understand that men are visual beings. Men are attracted based on what they see. Not to say that women are not, but then predominantly men are visual beings. And we continue to see sexually related ads that just pop up. When we're on the internet, when we're surfing the internet, you just see ads popping up with naked women. And as you're on the media or you're watching a movie, you continue to see near nudity displaying. So is this like a subtle way to trap our men into having them hooked to pornography rather than our women? And we're going to be discussing this question right after our break.
A new dawn of hope is here. The Footprints of Hope, Walking with Jesus online series with international speaker Glenn O. Samuels.
That he is a God who can feel our pain.
Join us nightly for a celebration of music, praise, powerful messages on health and your life's purpose.
His loving kindness knows no boundary.
Stream Hope Beyond on YouTube starting January 15th at 6:30 p.m. Miami time. Visit our website at hopebeyond.net and stay up to date with the latest on our social media platforms. Your new life is just a click away.
Welcome back as we are in season 2 of Man Enough. We are on the second part of a 3-part series, Man Enough to be Sexually Pure. And today we're talking on the topic pornography and masturbation, a big topic of discussion, but we are here with capable men of God to discuss this topic. We're here with Pastor Ricardo Salman, and we are also here with Mr. soon-to-be Doctor, I will repeat again, Jason Brown, and we've been having such a great discussion today thus far as we've been talking on the dynamics of pornography. And the question at hand right now is to really discuss if pornography, this industry, because pornography is an industry, do you think that pornography, the pornography industry is directly targeting our men in society rather than our women? And again, I ask this question because of how the media portrays nudity, and predominantly women are being portrayed and exploited, if I must say. Is this an avenue to attract and trap our men? I don't know who wants to go first. Who wants to go first? I see both faces very serious, so we'll start with Dr. Jason Brown. Let's go. Tell us.
I to answer this question, Cadique, again, I think the porn industry has been designed to target both sexes. Yes, research has proven that, of course, you have much more men who are in sync with what is happening in the pornography world than women. More men are more excited. And you would have said earlier that we are visually based, and so we like what we see, and it excites us. And if you look at multiple research out there that talks about the rank in terms of preferences for men, sex will literally be number 1. That is our desire. We cannot run from that. And so the industry basically was created not as a man industry, but it was created as an industry to destroy lives. So it destroys not only men, but also women and also children. Have mercy, Lord. So it was created to destroy everyone. I would want to believe that heavy research was also done in order for the pornography scene, the pornographic scenes, to be almost like what we desire in terms of what we want to see. And so everything you can think about, they put it out there because they know if I can give them what entice them, then they will be connected with me. So I think honestly everybody's targeted. But Cadique, just to share a little, just let me give you some stats just for persons to understand how dangerous this industry is. Now, for example, these are stats from the US. In 2006, the estimated revenues for sex-related entertainment businesses were just under 13 billion. That's just under 13 billion. 28,258 persons are watching pornography every second. 28,000. Then it says here, $3,075.64 is spent on porn every second on the internet. That's a lot of money. So you see what is happening here. 88% of scenes in porn films contain acts of physical aggression, and 49% of the scenes contain verbal aggression. Same thing that Pastor Salman said to us earlier. 1 in 5 mobile searches are for pornography. 1 in 5. There are higher percentages of subscriptions to porn sites of young people aged 15 to 24. You see what's going on there? The devil knows what he's doing. 1 in 5 youth pastors and 1 in 7 senior pastors use porn as a regular basis and are currently struggling. That's more than 50,000 US church leaders. 43% of senior pastors and youth pastors say they have struggled with pornography in the past. 64% of Christian men and 15% of Christian women say they watch porn at least once a month. 7% of pastors report their church has a ministry program for those struggling with porn. 7%. And as of 2018, nearly 27% of teens receive sex. That is when you're sexting. Around 15% are sending them. 57% of teens search for porn at least monthly. 51% of male students and 32% of female students first viewed porn before their teenage years. The first exposure to pornography among men is 12 years old on average. 71% of teens hide online behavior from their parents. So you see what is happening here. This industry is creating serious havoc. And so it is good that we are warning persons of the dangers of this industry. So the target is all for the men, for the women, for the pastors, church leaders, children, for the grannies and the tanties, everybody. The porn industry is targeting, and we need to be careful.
Yeah, let me just add a little bit to that there, or say the same thing, I guess. I don't know, depends on how it works out. But I think that, and I agree fully with that, this is a massive money-making industry. And the target, like anything else, is to target the younger generation, because as long as you can target our children, you know that your industry will continue to live. And so that is what it is. I don't know if there are any stats to show who are the persons managing this industry, but I suspect that those persons managing this industry are men. And because I not to say that women may not be involved in some way, but I think men may be the ones owning this industry. What I would say is that, and you know, the fact that men are visual, kind of imply that men would consume more pornography than women would, but I think that women do consume a lot of pornography. The stats are not that great between the two of them, even as we listen to it, because you have let's say here, there are more men watching, for example, 72% of men and 46% of women have been seen in pornography. Matter of fact, it is so bad that, and this is important that women understand, that the person who is disadvantaged in pornography is the woman more so than the man, because the woman the research suggests, 2020 research suggests that when the man ejaculates, he ejaculates in the woman's face. And so that alone is dehumanizing in of itself. All right. There's some research also that shows 45% of men and 33% of women. People often imitate what they see in pornography, because there are those who watch the pornography and they want to practice that at home. All right. Now, for example, 20% of men and 12% of women have been choked during sex. 11% of men and 21% of women have been choked during sex, and 48% of men ejaculated in the woman's face. So if you continue to look at the research as it is out there, though there may be more men, I think the target is for both men and women, but because men are visual, they seem to be more involved, though women are as well. So that the more pornography men use, it is important that the more men feel as though women are objects, rather than persons to be loved and cared for. And so you have this aggression that is displayed towards women by men. So that in pornography with aggression, women are the target in 97% of the scenes that you will watch, and the response generally is an aggressive response towards women. So that men are the perpetrators and against women in 76% of all of the scenes that we will watch. So I when you look at all of the statistics my brother put there and some of what I laid out at you, it is difficult to say that it targets one more than the other, but it is clear to see that the men are the ones who display the aggression, and women, by the way, women who are involved in pornography are generally become victim themselves of some form of abuse. And so there's a cycle that takes place here, because a man goes home, you watch the pornography and you want to go and practice that, and you see a man slapping a woman and spitting on her and pulling her hair and all the rest of this stuff, and you want to try that as well. So it is definitely not anything that God will ordain for anyone to be involved in at all, because of the nature of all that we have already discussed. But unfortunately, based on the statistics that were quoted earlier by the doctor, the reality is that the target is indeed the women, and it is very dehumanizing for matter of fact, even for the men as well.
Yeah, I totally concur with what you're saying, and I appreciate the research that both of you would have done to present today, so that we can see that we're not just speaking off of the top of our head, but that we are presenting the data that shows that this thing is not God ordained, but it's the enemy's way, the devil's way of really tearing down society, tearing down the morality of our men and women in society. Now, we've spoken on pornography. I want us to delve in a little bit on masturbation, as we would have alluded to very earlier in our conversation. So the question that I want to ask is, what is wrong with persons experiencing sexual satisfaction via self-pleasure, masturbation? What is wrong with it? And this is why I'm asking this question, though we would have alluded to the answer earlier on. We do understand that not everybody will get married to experience the joys of sex. Now, as Elder Drayson would have alluded to, God made man and woman sexual beings. He didn't make them and they say, okay, I go put this in you. He made, you said that, I quote in you, that's what you say. But then we are recognizing that each and every one of us were made sexual beings, and it does not stop one from having sexual urges. You understand? When you're not married. So given that situation, what is wrong with a single person getting a sexual release via masturbation? They're married, they can't get the release, as Pastor Salman would have alluded to earlier. Stress. We live in a stressful world, and these people want a little release to get their head back in the game, but they can't get that. As sexual beings, they're still sexual beings. That don't change whether you're married or not. So I mean, tell us, what is wrong with masturbation given all of that context that I've drawn up for you? I don't know what. Okay, Elder
I'll let the pastor go on this one.
All right, Pastor Salman, let's go. You're telling us, Elder Drayson.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I don't volunteer for anything generally, so, but I'm always willing to speak when I'm called. Yeah, that's how I am. So we are talking about what's wrong with masturbation. Mm-hmm. This is a question that I have heard many times, and a question that I have researched and looked at on many occasions. When a child is small, from a very, very early age, a child has a way of, whether it be a boy or girl, at a certain age, you'll find that a child will begin to touch its, in the case of a boy, its penis, in the case of a girl, its vagina. And the child discovers very early that there's a certain good feeling, pleasurable feeling that it gets from just touching his clitoris in case of a girl, or penis in case of a boy. And the child then by his parents, parents would hit the child and say to the child that's bad, so the child grows up with when that is done often enough, a child grows up with the thinking that if I touch or play with my penis or vagina, that it is a bad thing. And so because of that, that child can grow up believing that you're touching your penis or touching your vagina is a bad thing, is a bad experience. Yeah. And so we create a badness. I don't know if that's a word, but work with it. We create a badness in our children from very, very early age. And so there is this thinking that there is something wrong when I feel good about myself, and so on and so forth. Now let me fast forward that to adults there for a second. Now adults on the other hand, there are those adults, and I some months ago I sat and I watched a documentary on masturbation, and women especially. I know we're talking about men, but I have to give you that context. Women were talking about how is it that their men were not able to satisfy them, and some of that, what they were doing, stemmed back from the time when they were children. Parents touch your hair and touch it. So they do not explore things in the bedroom like they should explore, blah, 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 blah. But let me say this. What they have opted for after the man has done his thing and he's finished, they're opted now to go to masturbation to complete the process. Now, there are those who just, they may not have a partner, and they use masturbation as a way of getting pleasure. You see, what's wrong with that, right? What's wrong with that kind of a self-pleasure is that, taking into consideration the history of what I've just laid out for you, and as we become adults, what's wrong with that, with masturbation, is that you find many cases where masturbation causes you to lose interest in your partner. Now, let me explore it quickly, because I know we don't have all day to talk about these things. Let me explore it quickly from the perspective of what's wrong with it. What's wrong with masturbation is this: that masturbation forces you or causes you to lose interest in the natural way of having sex. And I heard And the ladies who were interviewed in this documentary said that as long as they can masturbate themselves, they no longer need a man. They no longer need a man because the sexual pleasure that they get out of this allows them to just vanish away into this place of joy and ecstasy and so on and so on and so forth. I am not going to tell you whether I think it is wrong or whether it is right. I'm saying what's wrong with it, and that we can talk about that. What's wrong with it is that it causes you to lose interest in your own partner. Let me add this here, and then let the doctor speak. Let me add this piece here, and it is this: that the body has its natural way of releasing built up pressure in men. It's called nocturnal emissions. Is let off naturally. Now, if you get into the habit of masturbating, then masturbating becomes your way of living. That also creates that pathway in your brain that we spoke about earlier. The dopamine and the oxytocin and so on. So what we have to understand here is that the body must be allowed to push off those things naturally, and it is not to be artificial. Artificial is unnecessary as long as you have a partner. As long as you have a partner, you and your partner can find ways to work that through rather than go to the way of masturbation. I'm going to finish there because I can go on that. It's an interesting topic, but I'll finish there and let the doc give his perspective on it.
Okay, I'm going to be brief on this question. The reality is, Cadique, first thing I must say, being an active participant in masturbation world does not justify that it's correct. I have had multiple persons who said that, yes, I participate in masturbation and what's not. Of course, it feels good because it's like you're using the innate abilities, desires that God would have given to you, the sexual desires, and you're doing it in a more selfish oriented way. And many times we fail to realize that not because I am enjoying it, it means that it is correct. So that thing has to be out there. Not because you're enjoying it, it means that it is correct. And trust me, it will be enjoyed, because what God has given to human beings, it was not a mistake. That whole sexual connection and desires and appetite that we have, it wasn't a mistake, but He gave us so that it can be utilized in a particular way and time, which we established earlier. That's the first point. The second one I want to establish is that masturbation and sexual activities, they're usually connected mentally. Now, there is a thought process. Now, this is not just about, as the pastor said, Pastor Salman said, a little boy or girl playing with the genitals. It's not just about that anymore. It's about playing with your genitals to the point of wanting to experience an orgasm, right? So when you go into that extreme, most of the times, if not all the times, your mind has to be connected. And what is the mind? Remember, we discussed earlier that the thoughts that we have that will trigger that higher passion for masturbation, it is those are the thoughts that are stored in our brain, which is our hard drive. The question is, what image do we have in our hard drive that gives us that extreme excitement to reach a level of orgasm? And usually they are pornographic images. I think connection, right? There's a strong connection between pornography, which is watching and allowing what you see to be stored, and then go further and masturbate so that you can actually get the whole feeling of the experience. So that is what. And also, finally, the last point I'm going to put here is that masturbation creates a habit that is very difficult to get rid of. Again, because of sexual activities releasing dopamine and oxytocin, when you connect masturbation with that, that becomes your source of that release. And so you can become a slave. And when you become a slave, we all know it's very difficult to break those bondage and those shackles. I have a friend, which I choose not to mention name, but I have a friend who has been married for about 20 something years. And he said to me that, you know, it's very strange that, you know, my wife, and I got permission to say this, by the way. It's very strange that my wife gives me sex when I desire, but I still find myself masturbating. Marriage does not cure masturbation. Masturbation is a habit that needs to be broken even before you enter marriage, because it will go with you. Because remember, masturbation releases dopamine, and that dopamine that you're looking for is connected to masturbation. When you have sexual activities with your spouse, that dopamine that is released have its source. So you have to break that selfish act in order to enjoy the bonding that God would have given to us. So I think those are the things that basically wrong with masturbation.
Be clear here. I am not telling anybody what they should do in the privacy of their bedroom. I don't get into those things. I think that people have to pray about certain matters and let God lead them the way God can lead them. We can speak about the problem with masturbation. We know this well. Ellen White she talks self-abuse, it causes blindness and all the other stuff like that in her writings. However, I think based on what I do on a day-to-day basis, I have to ask myself the question, what is a couple to do when, for example, when a man is unable to satisfy his wife, and or the other way around, because it works both ways. What are they supposed to do? I think that that is a matter for discussion, and they have to find ways to work that out. Now, if you are asking if pornography is wrong from a biblical, and I want to play a little devil advocate. I think that's what I'm trying to do here. If you want to ask what's wrong from a biblical perspective, I don't think the Bible is going to give direct counsel on that. So what is a couple going to do when there's no satisfaction? I mean, does she masturbate herself? Does the husband do it for her, or vice versa? You know, what should you do? And that is why I say, you know, I'm very careful going into the bedrooms of couples, because I think that there are things going on there that oftentimes are not as simple as we may try to present them, even on these kind of platforms.
Yeah, for sure. I see Pastor Salman is trying to go into even deeper waters, but unfortunately we don't have time to go into that type of Mariana Trench that you're trying to go into there. So let us leave that for now. We are pressed for time, but there are some questions that I still want answered on this platform today. The next question that I want us to just get into briefly is Pastor, you're a married man, and Elder Drayson, you are about to be a married man. To God be the glory. Congratulations, by the way. You're doing grand things in life. Big move. But I want to get both of your perspective on this question. In the context of marriage now, you would have just alluded to it, that not wanting to get into people's bedroom past. But in the context of marriage, is the use of porn and or masturbation okay? Is it simply just up to the couple? As the Bible states that, you know, we like to say that, you know, the marriage bed is undefiled and all of that. But then we want to know boundaries. Are there boundaries that should be set when it comes to exploring sex and sexuality in the context of marriage? You know, we're going to be discussing this question right after our break.
Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Body program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at langdolanguage@gmail.com, because the real question is, how can we help you?
All right, so we are back on our second part of our three-part series as we talk on the topic, Man Enough to be Sexually Pure, Porn and Masturbation. And with us, we have Pastor Ricardo Salman and we have Elder Drayson Brown with us as we have been having a grand discussion today. We're boiling down to the end as we are pressed for time, but we really want to get this question answered. In the context of marriage, is the use of pornography and masturbation okay? Is it simply left up to the couples? We're talking about boundaries in marriage. Should there be boundaries in the bedroom as it pertains to this particular topic of pornography and masturbation? Who wants to go first? Pastor, I see you're ready.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think that what happens in a person's bedroom is a matter for them to work through and work with. However, let me say this, that pornography, the research indicates that pornography, more so than masturbation, I imagine that is a challenge too, but pornography, more so than masturbation, is the cause for the breakup of marriages where this is involved. And I can tell you that for my years of counseling couples, I have seen that, and I've seen couples breaking up because of that. Yeah. And in most cases, by the way, there are those who there are couples where the husband may want to watch the pornography, but the wife is not. That is a problem. And then there are times when both of them watch and they try to do that thing and they realize that does not work, because what a couple does in the bedroom must be something that is unique to them, not something that they watch on television or watch on YouTube somewhere. So we know that it is the cause of breakup of marriages, that we know, and we know quite well, and that is wrong. In that case, I think also that there needs to be some conservatism. In other words, do nothing inside that bedroom or wherever you do your sex. Do nothing that makes the other person uncomfortable. Do nothing that is not agreed upon by both of you, which means that both of you need to talk things through and know what is appropriate, what is acceptable, and what is not acceptable. I think that when there's that conversation taking place, couples can enjoy sex to the fullest without the pornography or the masturbation. But like I said earlier, and I need it to be very, very clear, I don't go into people's bedrooms generally. If they ask questions, I deal with that. We discuss the issue of sex therapy. But the reality is that they need to look and find places that are more comfortable for both of them to work. I don't know of I haven't read any research that says to me that masturbation will destroy marriages. I haven't read that. I read it where pornography does, but I also believe that masturbation needs to be eradicated from the bedroom as well. And I need to make that clear. But I don't want to be judgmental here with people. I'm just trying to lay out something here that gives room for couples to work in a way that is fulfilling to both of them and not just to one of them. You see what I'm saying? So I'll leave the rest to the doc.
Pastor Troy, that heavy load on me. Okay, Pastor Cadique, as the scripture would have said, the Bible says that the marriage bed is is undefiled. Husband and wife. I'm just gonna give a few pointers here based on my research, because I'm not married. Pastor is the married man. Cadique, you're the married man. Yet. So, but one of the things I've realized is that the married bed, of course, is between husband and wife. And I don't think that there was any allowance for husband and wife to invite anyone in their bedroom. An invitation of persons in that married bed will bring a level of defilement. Why? Because from the very origin, God created husband and wife to come together. There wasn't anybody else at all there. And I think when couples watch pornography, you are actually inviting others in your bedroom. You're inviting things like perversions. You're inviting things like possible bestiality. You're inviting things like that can lead to rape. And because this is what pornography does. It's a stepping stone that leads to all of these things. Now, some of us like to say, I am strong that will never happen to me until we are placed in a situation. When you realize as a husband, you sit down at a gathering and you have a family gathering and a child basically comes and, you know, jump on your lap. You know, those children like to jump on laps and so on. And as a husband, you start to get extremely excited and in your mind start to go back on probably a video or a pornographic scene that you have actually stored on your hard drive. And if you're not careful, you can actually play with it. So that is why we have to be very careful in terms of inviting others in the bedroom. So that is one thing. Also, not everything starts basically at a basic level. Not everything that starts at a basic level remain at a basic level. And so while I understand the pastor is saying about, you know, there are plenty issues in terms of husband and wife sometimes and the whole sexual exchange. Sometimes the man says he's not satisfied. Sometimes the lady say it is not done properly. I think honestly that marriage couples should get that counseling in that realm. What to expect. Nobody have to, I mean, the reality is sometimes the husband doesn't even know what he's doing. Sometimes the wife comes to the wedding bed experience or the man comes experience and whoever experience will want to teach those who are not experienced. And you can create a lot of problems there. The challenge with including masturbation is that if my wife is not giving me that satisfaction, let's be honest here. Do you honestly believe that I'm going to masturbate and think about my wife? Do you think I'm going to masturbate and think about the one who is not satisfying me? Usually, masturbation goes with I am in the bed with somebody, but somebody else is in my head giving me that stimulation that I'm looking for to reach a climax stage. And that is what masturbation does. So sometimes, yes, husband and wife, I mean, I don't believe that if husband and wife doing their things together, it is seen as the same because they're satisfying each other. They're basically pleasing each other. But when you separate yourself from that bond and you start to do it by yourself, more than likely, your thought process will not be on your partner that is in the bed. More than likely. And so that is why I think that we need to be very careful and in terms of, you know, allowing these acts that were not originally given to us by Christ to enter into the marriage.
Yes. Thank you so much for your submission, both of you. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but I just want to give you this opportunity to leave any final words of counsel with individuals who may be struggling with this porn and masturbation thing and how they could probably overcome and get some help. Any final words that you would like to leave with our men and even our women today? Pastor Salman, we'll start with you. You're muted there, Pastor.
Yeah, sure. I'm thankful for the opportunity to share. Let me be brief here with this one. Let me say I believe that what the Bible says that, you know, marriage is honorable and the bed undefiled. And I think that couples, when they have difficulty in their sexual lives, that what they need to do is to talk to God about these things. Yeah. pray to God about them. And I am confident. I was doing a program some years ago, and this man said, a thought that never left me, and I've shared it with couples over the years, that he said that before they have sex, that they would pray together about it. And he found that that has created a miracle in the bedroom for him. And I think that is something we have to understand, that God is interested in our sex lives. He has made us that way. Sex is a gift from God to married people. And I think that if we trust God and rely on God, things like pornography and masturbation will not become part of who we are as Christian people or individuals whom God made in his image. So I would say trust God, depend on God. There's help if you are addicted to any of these two, pornography or masturbation. There's help. Get some counseling, get over them. These are addictions. And if you trust God, I'm confident that God will help you to get over them, because he has done it for others and he'll do it for you. Thanks for having me, Pass.
And I would like to close by saying, God is the grand designer of human beings and our bodies. He is the inventor of sexuality. Now, God could have easily used other things like cross-pollination, but he didn't. He gave us the desire. And so we need to enjoy the fact that God is the one who created sex. We should not feel guilty or ashamed when speaking about it, because it's something that God would have created. All we need to do is that follow the plan of God, and everything will be excellent in our favor. Satan uses pornography and masturbation as perversion of the divine creation. My encouragement to all of the gentlemen out there, let us choose God's way. It is always the best way. Philippians 4:13 says that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And finally, I want to leave this Cadique to all of the young men out there. When we feel sexually aroused, and even to the ladies, when we feel sexually aroused and we feel our body parts moving and we feel all this trembling and what's not, always remember, it's an indication that it is working and not an invitation to work it. God is an amazing God. Let us continue to remain close to him.
Oh my, I tell you, Jason, you are a unique character, I tell you, and that's why we have you on the program today as well. Thank you so much, Elder Jason Brown and Pastor Ricardo Salman, for being on today's show. We really appreciate your presence. We really appreciate the data and the wealth of knowledge that you would have brought to us today in edifying us on this topic, man enough to be sexually pure, pornography and masturbation. We learned so much today. Pornography and masturbation, it affects you biologically, psychologically, socially, and even physically. They have negative effects. We also learned that pornography is not just after men, but after everyone, irrespective of who you are, pastor, elder, deacon, a professional in society. Pornography is targeting you, so be aware of that. Pornography also promotes violence and devalues mankind, men and women, and even children. And we also talked on the fact that masturbation promotes this thing called self, this thing that we struggle with, self and selfishness. And masturbation also creates bad habits that are very difficult to shake. And when you become slave to that, you are in diverse trouble. But the counsel can be really found in Philippians 4 verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, pure, lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, these are the things that we should think on. These are the things that we should allow into our minds. I pray that you may take that text with you as we strive to be man enough to be sexually pure. Again, we thank you so much for your presence today. And those of you who have been viewing, we are grateful for you as well. Until our next episode, may God continue to richly bless you. Thank you for joining us on our Man Enough program today. You can feel free to contact us via phone at 767-614-2878. Or you can reach us via email at
youaremanenough@gmail.com.